Okay, so I saved the last A of Mania for this little discussion video, an article on the 100 years after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand from the History Channel for your online discussion post. So the immediate cause of World War I, we covered all the long terms. The immediate cause is the other A in Mania. On June 28th of 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the Austrian heir to the throne, will be assassinated by a Serbian nationalist. His name is Princip. He was a member of the ultra-nationalist Serbian group, the Black Hand, and the Archduke Franz Ferdinand will be assassinated while visiting Bosnia-Herzegovina. So what you really need to know about this is some background knowledge. So the Austrian ruler at this time is Franz Joseph, and he's been the ruler since 1848, and he's really, really old. He's so old, all of his kids have died. So the next heir to the throne would be Franz Ferdinand. But Franz Ferdinand had fallen in love with a commoner. Her name is Sophie. And Joseph, because of this, doesn't want Franz Ferdinand to be the heir, but there's no one else left. So Sophie will not be like a condition of Franz being the heir, is that she will never get the right of royalty. She will never get a title. She will just always be treated as a commoner. And so this settled, Franz Ferdinand, who will be the upcoming heir, is going to visit the newly acquired territory of Bosnia. So he's going to be like, hey, we Austrians care about you. Like, we want to check on you. We're Austria-Hungary, and we're here to help you. And so he goes to visit. He also kind of wants to show Serbia that we're hanging on to Bosnia. Like, hey, I'm placing claim. I'm going to visit. And he goes to visit. And I think there's some war games going on that he's going to look over, but you know how the troops would march and all of those things. But just kind of setting the background knowledge. He's watching them. Then he's supposed to give a speech at City Hall. And so on his way to the war games, there is an assassination attempt by the Serb nationalist group called the Black Hand, which would be what we would consider a terrorist group. But remember, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. I mean, really, like George Washington would have been considered a terrorist to the British, but a freedom fighter for America. So, I mean, they're Serbian nationalists. They're there for the Serbian, trying to take out the heir to the throne here. All of these members of the Black Hand were barely older than you. This was really kind of a suicide mission. All of these teenagers, about 19 years old, have TB, and so think that they're going to die anyway. So it's kind of like this idealistic, what can I do for my Serbian brothers before I die? And so what happens is the Serbians try to take out Franz Ferdinand on the way, but they get someone else in his crew. And Ferdinand continues on, does his speech. You know, he's kind of ticked off. He's like, you know, here I am, you people try and take me out while I'm visiting to help you. But anyway, so when he's done with his speech, he then goes and visits the guy who got hurt. But they're really silly about it because they publish his whole route, like his whole car route on the way there. But all of the Black Hand members have been like, oh, we failed, and they've gone home, except for Princip. Jurieli Princip is getting a cup of coffee, and the Archduke's car comes by, and then the driver realizes that he's made a wrong turn to get to the hospital, and so he has to turn around, but the streets are really narrow, so he has to take a U-turn. And so it's in this process of trying to make a U-turn that Princip will shoot Sophie and the Archduke Ferdinand. They had left their kids, however, at home. Someone always asks about the kids because this was, they were going to see war games and speech and all this, and, definitely they were right that it might have been a little bit dangerous. So at first we're going to see some sympathy because people really saw this as an act of terrorism by a teenager Princip was a teenager. He was 19 years old. On the Austrians. And so Franz Ferdinand, I think really was probably assassinated by the Black Hand because he was going to give some special privilege or special placement to Serbians. And since the Black Hand were Serbian revolutionaries, they wouldn't have wanted someone to let the steam off, kind of like England, like the teapot. He was going to help Serbians out, which would have led people to be more content, which would have led to them not wanting to revolt. And so really, I think that's why he was assassinated was because he was going to ease some tension, make things better, and these revolutionaries wanted a revolution. So Austria, however, what the main point of all of this is Austria is going to see this as their opportunity to get some things that they want. Oh, I guess before I get there, though, I should tell you what happened to Princip. And so Princip, he's going to try to escape. You see him kind of trying to wrestle him to the ground right there, the guards. And he'll try to take cyanide, but it is outdated and doesn't kill him. And so he'll be captured. He's put on trial. He's found guilty, although they can't charge him with the death penalty because he's under the age of 20. So he's sentenced. I don't think it's full life in jail, but it's quite a significant amount of time. And then remember, he has TB. He develops, some kind of infection in prison. They have to take off his arm, and then he's like 88 pounds when he dies in prison. But back to what Austria. So Austria sees this as a way to get what they want. What they want is to crush this pan-Slavism movement. It's not that they want Serbia. It's just that they want to stop this whole movement of separation here. So Austria is going to consult its good friend Germany. That's Kaiser Wilhelm II, be like, what should we do if we pursue this? Do you have our back? And this is pretty much the point where you can see the point here that Kaiser Wilhelm II is going to pledge unwavering support to Austria to punish Serbia for the assassination, and where he will issue his blank check. So like a blank check, I just hand over a signed check from my bank account, and you have permission for as much as you want. And so that's his response to Austria. And so then with Austria, you have a blank check. What are you going to do? And so what's Austria going to do with this blank check? I mean, side note here, and you might want to write, this is really why Germany's going to get a lot of blame at the end of this. I mean, it might have just been a localized war between Serbia and Austria if Germany had not, if Kaiser Wilhelm had not left this blank check, like, do whatever you want, we've got your back. But, so what is Austria going to do when they realize they have this blank check? The first thing they're going to do is make harsh demands on Serbia by requiring Serbia to punish all forms of anti-Austrian sentiment and participate in joint judicial proceedings against anti-Austrian activity. Really what they're doing is saying, we're going to violate your sovereignty. That would be like if Canadians came in and they sat over all of our judicial proceedings. We're going to come in and you can't handle it, so we're going to oversee or overrule or take control of your court system. Okay. And so Austria's demands violating the sovereignty, I mean, most of them are eventually going to be agreed upon by Serbia. They're going to be like, okay, there's not too much. Except for the judicial proceedings part, except for the part where we're going to come over and take part in the trials of the assassination, that we're going to oversee your judicial court, because Serbia wanted an international tribunal to come in with some perspective outside of this. And so they're going to give in to all of the demands except for this. And why do the Serbs have a little bit of backbone here? Well, they have a friend too. If you remember from the lecture today, their friend is Russia. However, why maybe should they not be so trusting in their friend is because we haven't seen Russia step in yet. But what did I say is going to happen when Russia does finally step in? It will be World War I. So spoiler alert that may be. That's where we're at right here. And besides that, the Serbians are pretty much like, the Russians can't not come in. I mean, this would really disgrace them. I mean, they've backed out of these other things, but they can't not come in this situation, because it's so clear cut that they're supposed to be supporting us as our brothers, as our Russian brothers there. But you also have to remember the alliance system that we've set up is different now. Who does Russia have as a friend now? They have Britain, but we're not, really counting Britain in right now because they haven't formally agreed to anything. But they have France. And France is still really leery of Germany, so they don't want to do anything to lose the friendship with Russia. That's their old friend. Britain's their new friend. And so we're going to see that Russia's going to have the French behind them. And so this is going to all lead up to Austria declaring war on Serbia in July 28th of 1914. The reasoning that Austria uses is they claim that Serbia had not accommodated adequately Austria's demands, which, I mean, they hadn't, although the demands were a little off step. But Austria will take the first aggressive step on July 29th and begin bombing Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. And this will represent the first military aggression of the war. So in response, Russia is going to mobilize its armies against Austria and Germany. Now, this is not attacking, it's mobilizing. You're a big nation, you're far away, you're just getting your troops together. And then France in response will begin mobilizing as well on Germany's western border. So this is exactly what OVB never wanted to happen. Germany is now facing a two-front war. And so Germany starts to freak out, and on August 1st, Germany is going to declare war on France because of this two-front war situation. And you're like, well, why would they do that? Well, first of all, they're already engaged in this, but also everything is going to depend on speed or being quick. So Germany is going to very quickly on August 3rd then invade Belgium on its way through France. But this is where a problem sparks up, because if you remember, Belgium has been neutral since 1839. So in effect, Germany, by going through Belgium to get to France, will turn this little localized war in the Balkans into a world war by attacking Belgium and France. In this response, then, France will declare war back on Germany, and then on August 4th, Britain is going to declare war on Germany as well. Now, there are lots of reasons why you could probably think that Britain would come in, but the reason they do finally come in is because they have promised in 1839 to protect Belgium neutrality. And so they don't really come in, as France's friend, although that doesn't hurt. They come in to protect Belgium's neutrality. So what about Italy? Remember that Italy had been with our Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, Hungary, but Italy is going to actually leave at this point and say, hey, I think we only agreed to defense, like only if one of us were attacked, not if we started attacking other people. And so they're going to back out at this time. And then this is going to leave us with two sides, two opposing alliances. Remember, alliances are going to kind of pull everyone in because of Germany's actions. Everyone will be pulled into a world war. First is the Central Powers, or the Triple Alliance: Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and then later Bulgaria. The Allies came out of the Triple Entente, and that will be Britain, France, Russia, and then later Japan, Italy, and the United States, of course, will join up with the Allies. I think at this point we can kind of see that the Allies probably have the geographic advantage, but we also have Russia, so they have just mainly a lot of people but not a lot of stuff. Okay, so now really where we're leaving off to come back on Friday is that now the whole continent is in war over one guy getting shot. I love this map here because it pictures, like all of the different nations like waging. This is one of my favorite maps ever. I want to order a big poster of it. But anyway, you have the whole continent like in this turmoil because of one guy getting shot. You have cousin versus cousin. Remember, everyone's related. They're all under Queen Victoria. Nicholas is related to Wilhelm. They played together as cousins. So now we have like cousin versus cousin, and everyone thinking they're heading into this war and that it would just be over by Christmas, that it would be over really quickly, because there hadn't been a major war in like 50 years. And so all these like Crimean War and Franco-Prussian wars have been so quick that they're really not anticipating how serious and crazy and drawn out and the loss of life that's going to come out of this. And that's where we're leaving off. So don't forget to do your post. You don't have to respond to a classmate unless you wish to, about the major causes of World War I. Kind of analyze them there and read the article on the 100 years after Franz Ferdinand's assassination.